Let's now begin with our top focus story. As a return of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party to power in Bangladesh has revived Dhaka's demand for the extradition of the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina from India, posing a delicate diplomatic challenge for New Delhi. Following the BNP's landslide victory in the first general election since the 2024 uprising, senior leader Salahuddin Ahmed has now said that the new government would actively pursue Hasina's return to stand trial in the country. Meanwhile, Hasina has strongly rejected the legitimacy of the recently held elections. In a statement, she's also described these polls as, quote, disgraceful chapter in Bangladesh's history and called for the resignation of Mohammad Yunus. Alleging widespread administrative manipulation and numerical fraud, the former Prime Minister also claimed that the official figures did not reflect the true level of public participation, further deepening the political fault lines in the country.
That depends on the legal process, of course. That depends on the legal process, of course. That depends on the legal process, of course. That depends on the legal process, of course.
Let me open this up as my guests join me on the broadcast this evening. Anil Trigunayat, former diplomat, is with us. Also with us is Brahmachalani, strategic affairs expert, and Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhry, who's a Bangladeshi journalist. Let me begin with Ambassador Trigunayat. Sir, I want to understand, this is a landslide victory, of course, by the BNP. After 2 decades, BNP returns to power. Rather dramatic for Tarique Rahman, because for 17 years he was in exile, then he returns, and within months he is in fact vying for the top spot in Bangladesh. Does anything change from this interim government under Mohammad Yunus and to now that BNP has won these elections for India?
Yes, of course. So now we have an elected government. I mean, elections may be questioned by many, including Sheikh Hasina, about its credentials. But at the same time, I mean, there is no doubt that Mr. Rahman has won these elections in a landslide way. He has a 2/3 majority. And a properly elected government has its own agenda, which it will follow. Of course, we have seen the history with the BNP. And earlier, BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami, the other opposition party, have been together in the elections. And they have won and ruled together as well. So I think that this we have to credit, and I think what Prime Minister Modi has done the right thing by immediately, he became the first leader to congratulate the newly elected leader for his victory and looking forward to better ties with Bangladesh. Of course, we are looking at a difficult situation in Bangladesh's own domestic scene because one of the major parties, which is about, you see, essentially about 40% each of them have been cornering the electorate. And now that 40% were out of the running or reckoning, therefore, many of the people would have voted for the BNP. And that's precisely the reason that the BNP has eventually come to power with this, and with the hope that the second generation of BNP leaders will do better for Bangladesh as a country. And India wants well for the Bangladeshi people.
So this is what I would want to understand from Bangladesh's side, and Mr. Salahuddin Chaudhry would be able to give that assessment better for us, since you've been covering these elections, Mr. Chaudhry. Considering the Awami League was banned from contesting the polls, is this the legitimate voice of people that has emerged out of these elections? Should India read the room like that?
Thank you very much, Ms. Atul. If we look into the election result of 2001 and 1991, BNP has got this much of majority in both the election where Awami League participated.
Okay.
So it is not that Awami League voters have voted for BNP. Awami League voters have voted for Jamaat-e-Islami. And that's why Jamaat, which never got more than 10 seats, this time it got 68 seats. And of course, this is another reason that the Jamaat-e-Islami has got majority, have owned the constituencies, which are very much within the bordering areas of India, for example, Khulna, Rangpur, etc. Very strategic place. So I think Awami League has engineered this victory of Jamaat, so that to put India into discomfort and also put this election into controversy and also put the BNP government into pressure.
So you are saying there is still some kind of a mingling of the Awami League in these elections, even as Sheikh Hasina, while sitting in India, being exiled, is crying foul, claiming that this is an absolute farce.
Because Awami League's vote bank is also 35 to 40%. So it meaning 4 crore voters, 40 million. You cannot let 40 million voters that abstain from voting. They voted in very large number for Jamaat Islami, because they wanted to punish BNP, and Awami League actually wholeheartedly wanted Jamaat to win the election so that the country becomes more messy, and then Awami League will have a solid ground of returning, number one. Number two, this election in Bangladesh, Awami League had 3 elections actually in 2013, 2014, 2018 and 2024. All of the elections were one-sided and rigged, and Sheikh Hasina did not even allow the opposition to participate in those elections. Second reason is this time's election was by and large much peaceful and legitimate. So what Sheikh Hasina says, frankly, it does not mean at all, because she is saying all the things, and even I don't know whether it is Sheikh Hasina is saying, because Sheikh Hasina is not in politics from the 24th of January. So someone else is doing this.
So Mr. Brahmachalani, now let's come to the main question for which we are doing this debate, the extradition question of Sheikh Hasina, who remains in India. Once BNP has attained this landslide victory, the first demand formally that they are making to India is to extradite Sheikh Hasina. India is not obligated to do that because this is a political trial, and under the extradition clause, these things are not taken into account. But does this really put India in a tightrope, despite those congratulatory messages that have gone from Delhi to Dhaka, to Mr. Rahman from Narendra Modi's side, all of that because they are looking at better ties with Bangladesh, but this is a sticking point?
With all due respect, you're giving too much weightage to the statement of one BNP person, Salahuddin.
Okay.
This statement has not come from Tarique Rahman about extradition. Has come from one member of the BNP. The BNP chief, Tarique,
who is also, by the way, gone on to call Sheikh Hasina a terrorist.
Well, he himself was in exile for 17 years. He just come back from exile. And the fact that Bangladesh politics has been in the grip of 2 families, that dynastic politics has resulted over the years in members of one family seeking exile. So this cycle continues. Sheikh Hasina was in exile earlier, returned to Bangladesh, became the prime minister. Tarique Rahman was in exile. He returns, becomes the prime minister. He will pursue a more pragmatic approach to this issue. The extradition of Sheikh Hasina, a 78-year-old lady, is no easy task for either Bangladesh or even for India. India can't hand over Sheikh Hasina to Bangladesh. That simply is inconceivable. Bangladesh's security and well-being hinge on good relations with India. Do you think the new government will be reckless in terms of pursuing its relationship with India? I doubt it. They will try to pursue a pragmatic approach. They will make these noises in public for their constituency. They will try to tell the constituency that they have made the extradition request.
Okay.
But they're not going to be making that a sticking point or letting that ruin the bilateral
So essentially, Mr. Chalani, you are saying that they are not going to make good their campaign promise, because this was part of their campaign speech as well. We're talking about the BNP here. Extradition of Sheikh Hasina.
Well, parties contest elections on the basis of many promises. That doesn't mean that when they take office, they implement all those manifesto points. The fact is that extradition of Sheikh Hasina is a issue that appeals to the BNP constituency, to the BNP vote bank. Obviously, they're going to pander to their own electoral constituency, and certainly that would have figured in the election manifesto. But that doesn't mean that Tarique Rahman, as Prime Minister, is going to make that a sticking point in terms of Bangladesh-India relations. And also, there are two things that you have to keep in mind. Sheikh Hasina did not come to India at India's invitation. She was effectively packed off to India by Bangladesh's powerful military. She didn't even tender her formal resignation. The Bangladesh military put her on a military aircraft bound for India, and the army chief then went on national television to announce that he had taken charge until an interim regime was installed. So the question that Tarique Rahman should be asking, Tarique Rahman should be asking the military chief, the army chief, about the circumstances in which he let Sheikh Hasina go to India. Second, and this is an important thing because extradition is a legal issue. It's not a political issue that can be settled across a negotiating table. There's a bilateral extradition treaty.
Yes.
India has to follow the law.
Yes.
And under the bilateral extradition treaty, any extradition will have to meet clauses 1 and 3. Clause 1 of Article 8 states that extradition may be denied if the requested state, that is India, finds the accusation lacks good faith or isn't in justice's interest, meaning it's politically driven or vindictive.
Yes.
And then clause 2 bars extradition if the person can claim protection in India under rules against double jeopardy. And let's not forget that the regime-appointed tribunal that sentenced Sheikh Hasina to death, that was a verdict written in advance in the best tradition of political show trials. In fact, the proceedings was such a farce that calling the tribunal a kangaroo court would be an insult to kangaroos. It was a complete farce. And given these realities...
Or in fact, setting it up back after the war, because it was meant to deal with war crimes, that also is a subject for another debate. But Ambassador Triguna, I would want to understand from you, there is another waters treaty that India shares with Bangladesh. That is the Ganga Waters Treaty. That is up for renewal in December this year. Do you think politics can go ahead and probably cloak that treaty as well, and Bangladesh could probably see some kind of reference from what is happening with the IWT and India and Pakistan? Do you think that also could be a factor? Because BNP and Jamaat coalition in the past have not had as great ties with India as the Sheikh Hasina governance. So we've always seen good relations emerge for almost 2 decades with Bangladesh when Sheikh Hasina was in power. But this Jamaat factor becomes a tricky one. Do you think even the Waters Treaty needs to be now re-looked at in that political climate and scenario?
Well, if I can tell you something is that when I was traveling to Bangladesh last year and during Mr. Yunus's time, we have this tribunal and there are meetings, working group meetings keep taking place. And in the same flight, I saw an Indian delegation traveling to have discussions with Bangladeshi side. So it is not that because water is existential for them. It is important that these treaties, wherever necessary and mutual benefit is involved and have been arrived at with great difficulty, are renewed. So there is no problem. And Bangladesh is one country with which, except for a couple of minor issues, most of the issues have been settled between India and Bangladesh as far as boundary or the water issues are concerned. Teesta is one which is remaining. So I really don't have a doubt. And as Professor Chalani said, the current government is going to be far more pragmatic in its approach towards its foreign policy. And that's what we have seen the initial statements. There are sticking points in the relationship. There needs to be ironed out. There has to be, once again, some kind of a confidence need to be generated, for which we have to connect more with the people of Bangladesh. Okay. So far, India has been identified with a leader. And that is something that becomes very difficult. And then they treat you as with the big brother syndrome, as well as for supporting a particular leader. And that's why you get sidelined in the process and become a punching bag. So I think that there is, right now we are on the right wicket. And there will be definitely several issues, not only one. Sheikh Hasina is one issue which will remain as a talking point and will continue. And there will be these extradition treaty processes will once again be pursued. There is no doubt about it. But this will not be the point on which the engagement will be predicated. And I hear that now for the swearing-in ceremony, there might be an invitation from Prime Minister Modi. And if he accepts in the way that he has congratulated Mr. Rahman, the very first leaders who become so, I think that will break the ice. And Dr. Jaishankar's visit itself was conveying a message that India was ready. What we were asking, we were throughout asking that there should be elections, there should be democratically elected government, and we'll be working and discussing with them. But the 18 months of Mr. Yunus's time, frankly, has derailed the relationship significantly and has created a lot of anti-India feeling and venom in the country. And that needs to be corrected somehow.
So, Mr. Salahuddin Chaudhary, do you think this is part and which is the stop of Mr. Rahman's agenda once he assumes power as the Prime Minister? There is, of course, this interim time where Yunus is supposed to be handing over that power to Mr. Rahman. That is on his mind to, in fact, do good and make good the things that have been done as wrong by the interim government and the governance under Mohammad Yunus. This invite that Ambassador Trigunayat was talking about that might be sent to the Indian Prime Minister, is it in the works for the swearing-in ceremony?
Mr. Atul, first of all, we need to remember that Yunus was an illegal regime. It continued for 18 months. It did not have any accountability to us, to the people. And it was influenced and surrounded and dictated by the Islamists and foreign elements, including Pakistani, I say. But BNP is an elected entity. BNP, I believe, BNP is not going to continue the regime as the notoriety of the Yunus regime towards India, because BNP understand for the progress and prosperity of Bangladesh, we need India, number one. Number two, Jamaat, as I said, for the first time, they got 68 plus seats. Jamaat will keep on punching the face of BNP for the coming months and years, and it will result in BNP becoming more and more anti-Islamist and pro-India. So as His Excellency, the Ambassador Anilji said that Bangladesh has already invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It is true, the invitation has already been sent. So BNP is showing different things. Yunus, from the very 0 hour, he was behaving like a Pakistani stooge. But Tarique Rahman is not a Pakistani stooge. And again, I also absolutely agree with Professor Charlie that what he said about the extradition is from Salahuddin Ahmed. It's not from Tarique Rahman. And I can also tell you, as the time grows, cooperation begins between Bangladesh and India, this extradition will ultimately go into the cold storage.
Right. Mr. Chalani, I would let you have the last word. We were talking about this interim regime under Mohammad Yunus and how there is this sort of handing of power that will take that amount of time. But the governance under Yunus that was so dominated with impacts from Pakistan and China, do you think that will spill over to this new government under BNP, under Mr. Rahman? Because we've seen a lot of controversies associated with an influence from Pakistan. We had Pakistani generals come into Bangladesh. They were presented a skewed map of Bangladesh which showed parts of India as their own. So all of those controversies and of course these atrocities on minorities that keep getting reported out of Bangladesh, that is also a sticking point, that is also a cause of concern, and that has been raised by India, of course rubbish by Bangladesh, saying that it is their internal matter. Do you think that will change now?
That's a good question, Rhea. Bangladesh today stands at a dangerous crossroads. Without political stability and economic revival, it risks descending into the kind of Islamist dysfunction that plagues Pakistan, the very country from which Bangladesh seceded in 1971 after a bloody war of liberation. After 18 months of political turmoil, lawlessness, and widespread Islamist violence, the question today is, after the national election, is Bangladesh headed toward stability and economic revival? There'll be a new government which has a supermajority in parliament, but let's not forget a couple of things. First, this election lacked the basic conditions of a free and fair election. It wasn't even as inclusive. India had demanded a free, fair, and inclusive election. What distinguished this election in particular was the absence of the largest political force. This is the first time in Bangladesh's history that the country's largest political force, the Awami League, was missing because it had been not only outlawed, thousands of its members have been jailed.
Yes.
They are languishing in jail without trial.
Yes.
And to make matters worse, and this is very important, Greha, the BNP and the Jamaat traditionally have been allies.
Yes.
They were partners for years, and the Jamaat provided the street muscle power to the BNP in elections and in agitations. Today, these two are not only have they become rivals, the Jamaat is accusing the BNP of rigging this election, and many Jamaat leaders have said in public that they do not accept the results. So the allies have turned against each other, with the Jamaat accusing the BNP of rigging.
Absolutely, and the hard stop that the BNP has got to this alliance in 2024 probably is that different story that Bangladesh really must look at now. We have to leave it at that, unfortunately, but thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me and offering your perspective. That's all the time that we had on this debate. We go into a very short break with that.